right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome. This is a Public Works podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. His name is John Leezy, and he is the Wastewater Collections Supervisor for the City of Wentzville in beautiful Missouri. John, say what's up to everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, man. So we're here. We're on this podcast. We're talking about you. We're highlighting the person behind the position. So give us a brief backstory of John Leezy. Talk us through, we don't have to go back to like elementary years, you in the sandbox, but let's go back to kind of high school, after high school, what you did, and then what led you into the position where you're at today, just so somebody can model their career after yours, maybe.
Yeah, so I have what I would think would be a non-typical version of coming into public works. I graduated from high school. My father retired from the railroad, so we had known blue-collar work our whole lives. I joined the military, spent 3 years in the Army. Once I got out of the Army, I went into factory work, and I did factory work for 17 years in factories and would still be there, but as things go, the factory did close I worked at, and we were given some options to the state of Illinois. I was working in Illinois, and some displaced worker training courses were available for us, and I needed to reinvent myself. I have some friends who still stayed in factory work, and I was ready to move on. So there's a university in Illinois called the Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville, SIUE, and they have a environmental training program. It's the Environmental Training Resources Program, and they do water and wastewater treatment, and you receive a certificate when you finish. So I went to the ERTC, got my licensing in Illinois and Missouri for water and wastewater, and then took those licenses, and I started out at the City of Greenville, Illinois, working at their wastewater plant. Did that for 3 years. Then I went to Little Marine, Illinois, town of like 1,400, and was their superintendent for a year. And then I went to Glen Carbon, Illinois. I just left there last year, and 22. And I spent 10 years there as their utility superintendent, managing the water and wastewater systems. And then last October, I got the itch, and several reasons. There's always reasons, and looked around, and I found this opportunity in Wentzville. And Wentzville is a growing city.
Really?
Leaps and bounds. It's like the fastest growing city in Missouri. There's a lot here. There's a lot going on. A lot of reasons to be here. So I took it as an opportunity, and started last October, and it's been great.
Gotcha. And then you talked about factory work, and it's interesting to me because, like, I wouldn't say that was before my generation. I'm 36 years old. I'm a millennial, right? And most of my uncles, father, like they kind of were in that era of factory work, or when it was starting to I guess, fold up or close down. So tell us was there anything you learned that you could apply to what you're doing today from the factory work?
Yes, because when in the final job that I had before I left, I worked at a zinc processing place. And long, boring story short, it was kind of like water treatment. The zinc came in as a slurry. It ran through these batch tanks. You treated the batch tanks to get them to be the certain percentage of zinc that you needed, and then you sent it to the next part of the process. And so when I was reviewing, I could have gone to HVAC school and been an air conditioner repairman. I could have gone and been an electrician. I was offered all of these different things, but I could see, as I was already doing, an operating type position. I'm thinking, the guy at the water plant, watching tower levels and adding reagents. I was like, okay. I could see that as something that I could do, being an operator here. So.
Okay, it makes sense. It's so interesting how the different parts of our life, the places that we go, give us these transferable skills that can somewhat be applied to the next thing we're going to do. Then over a lifetime, we're like, Inspector Gadget. I know everything.
Well, and I try to tell people too, as I'm mentoring or I'm talking to people starting out, that you don't know where you're going to go. Like, I don't know. This is not the path that I thought I would be on. And so you have to leave your options open and be willing to listen and try new things, because you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Talk us through a day in the life of John. You're a collection supervisor. When you first get to the office, what are you doing? And walk us through a whole average day for you.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So I'm very hands-on with my guys. In that, in the morning, I walk over and we have a morning meeting, kind of talk about our day. We do plan for the week every Friday. We come up with a game plan for the next week, so we have something on the schedule. But every morning we meet and we chat. We keep it real easy. It's not I'm not the boss, you know. I go over and we chat about the day and what we're going to do, and they tell me what they think they're going to do, and I tell them what I think they ought to do, and then we're good. And then throughout the day, I'll come back over to my office, check emails, make phone calls, go to meetings. However, usually around lunchtime, I'll do it again. I'll kind of check in with them, because we're all at the same facility. I work down at the Water Reclamation Center, so I'm just a short walk from them. So I'll walk down and touch base with them. And then every day before I go home, I do the same thing. I swing by again and we chat for 15, 20 minutes about how the day went and what we need to do and how things are going, if we need me to order things or whatever. So
How often after that Friday meeting, you guys got your plan for the next week, and you show up Monday, and that plan just gets totally thrown?
all the time, all the time. And I got to tell you, being wastewater is one thing. When I was in water, it was much worse when I did water.
Really?
Water, you don't know. Yeah, water, because you have those nasty things that come out of the ground that we don't like to talk about.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. I thought the wastewater side would have been more, I guess, in of alarmist atmosphere than the freshwater or the water production side.
And I don't mean to offend any firemen. I view us as like firemen. You know, like your normal day, you're just doing preventive maintenance and you're out doing. We do every day. The guys, we have basically 3 crews. We do video inspection with the camera of the mains. We have a crew that cleans every day, goes out and jets and cleans the mains. We have a couple different machines for that. And we have a crew that does maintenance, goes out and works on manholes and such. Just busy work. And then when something breaks, that's when it's all hands on deck, and we all go out and then we all take care of it.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay. All right. So let's say you're mentoring a youngster and he's like, John, what skill set should I pick up to be good at exactly what you're doing today? What would that skill set be?
I think that you really need to have this position. You need to be able to listen and rely on your people, because they're the ones in the field. I used to do it and I can still go out and do some things, but they're the guys out there. They're the ones working, especially like we're using now a lot of Google Sheets and Google Forms for reporting and tracking. And this is all new, right? This is all new to me. And we're learning how to work through it. And the tracking of equipment, tracking of man hours. This is all something that the city wants to do. So they're doing it. They're creating the forms. They're filling out the forms. They're doing all of this. But I think you need to be able to listen to your team, but at the same time, there's that thought you have to kind of think things through. Like, if we're going to do this, what does that mean later? Because I think sometimes what happens is we react to something and then you don't see the repercussions. So you really got to kind of think forward, almost like chess. Like, okay, we're going to do this, but what does that mean later?
Like, what does it cost us to do this right now? What's the opportunity cost of not doing that thing and doing this thing right now, if that's going to grow into a hairy gorilla later? You know? It's funny because the last couple jobs I worked at, I introduced to the, I wouldn't say older, but more seasoned generation, the functionality of a shared document like Google Sheets. And I'd literally pull up on my phone a Google Sheet and I'd say, hey, open it up on your computer and look, I typed something in and look, it's on your computer now. Isn't that crazy? Like, we all can do this. So it's interesting working with different generation, and just, you know, there's values in all generations. You know, a lot of boomers will say, oh, millennials are entitled, or, you know, we can say, oh, Gen Zers just want to TikTok dance all day. But I think there's value within every generation.
100%. And that is that's one of the big challenges, right? Is getting your more seasoned employees to mesh and work with the younger generation, and you have to lead people, and you have to know your people. You can't treat everyone the same. You have to know your people and kind of learn them, and let them work to their strengths. So yeah, it is a challenge, but so
What's
far we're doing pretty well.
what's your best practices for that? Let's go a little bit deeper. Like,
All
you
right.
got, guys who are going to retire in the next 60 seconds, and you got guys who just figured out how to turn a screwdriver. How
Well,
do you get them to play nice?
you need everyone to have a basic respect, right? Everyone has to you have to have respect. You don't even have to like each other, but you have to respect one another, right? And treat each other respectfully. That's really, to me, the biggest part of it. Then once you got that, I'm facing that. I have a gentleman who's been here for quite some time. He's probably got 3 or 4 years left, a lot of knowledge. So I'm sending him out once in a while with one of these younger guys. And this guy has some of those skills already. So he's learning some of the things he does, some inspecting and some calibrating of equipment, so that they can all share this knowledge and be ready when it's time for everyone to move up and move on.
I like that. And then also you talked about the different kind of one group does fleshing all day, one group does the cameraing all day, one group does kind of the maintenance all day. What's your best practices for having them all know what each other is doing? Because I'm sure you have guys who are on call. They get a call and they're like, hey, how does this vac-on Vactor combo truck thing work? Or like, how do you get this manhole unseized? So do you cross-train? What's your best practices for?
Absolutely. So how I do it, I don't know how everybody else does it. I take my 3 senior employees, and they've been given a task. So the one guy runs the camera crew, the other guy runs the jetting crew, the other guy runs the maintenance crew. Everyone else rotates. And those guys have been here a long time, so they know all these jobs, the older guys.
Gotcha.
So then these younger guys, then they rotate, and I'm kind of letting them rotate kind of how they want. I'm not real bossy boss.
What do you mean how they want? Like every 6 months or quarterly, or
yeah, if they want to do it every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month.
Oh, okay.
However they want to rotate, just like the on-call, we have an on-call schedule, and they're allowed to trade and work with each other on that for vacations and holidays, as long as it's covered. I don't have a lot of grief with it, but we do have an on-call person all the time. And then, pretty much when someone has to come in, you're calling in a coworker, right? Because this isn't a job that you do by yourself in the middle of the night. So we usually have 2 guys come in for anything that has to be done.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, it's story time. I'm sure you have plenty of stories up there. So give me a story from John when something went wrong under your watch, what you did to fix it, and then what lessons you learned from it to apply to your future career.
Well, so when I started here in the city of Wentzville, we had a couple of force main breaks, and there had been, how do I say it? There had been some issues here. There's a reason I'm here, right? There's a reason I'm here, because there had been some issues in the past with leadership, and they decided to go in another direction. So they brought me in. So the collections team needed to build some trust back with the city and with the other departments, and establish ourselves as what we needed to be, because there had been some issues in the past, and none of that matters because that wasn't us. So we're a new us now. So we went out on this force main break, and it was supposed to be about 4 feet deep. And we started digging, and we had it all located, and we're doing everything the right way. And what had happened was, it was on a American Legion baseball field. The force main was installed years ago.
Yeah.
They came in and had put dirt and built it up. So we're digging on first base to repair the sewer leaking force main. And it was deep. It was deeper than any of us thought. We got about...
It wasn't 4 feet?
It was not 4 feet. So with this process, this is something normally in the past they would have farmed out to a contractor. So we did all the best practices. We benched the dig. We dug. had acquired a backhoe. It was someone else's backhoe. We acquired it from the water department. We used that. It was so deep we couldn't use our mini excavator.
Wow.
So we dug the hole. We benched it back. We made it safe. We talked with the street department, and this is where I came from. The street department and the superintendent and the park superintendent, we're all friends. We all have an office right next to each other. And here there was a little bit of headbutting when I got here.
Okay.
No. So street department helped. They supplied guys and trucks, and water came out and gave us their trench box. And everyone looked at the hole and said, "Oh, it looks safe to me." And I think that kind of made everyone feel like, yes, we know what we're doing. And we're going to do this safely. We made the repair and we backfilled it and we took care of everything. And I think that went a long way to establish this department now is we can do this job and we can be relied on and we can be trusted to do these things. And in the past, there had been some issues. So I feel like that is, it was a trust builder and it was a team building exercise. And it was good for the city to see it. And it was good for my guys to have this accomplishment that they did it.
I like that. And then you went back and when you're playing on that baseball field, you hit a home run?
No.
No, okay.
Never much of a baseball player, no.
Question, why would you have farmed that out versus have kept it in-house to do? Because that's such a good team building exercise.
Most municipalities I've worked in don't go real deep. We don't have the proper equipment. We don't have the trench boxes and the shoring. So normally you would contract that out and let them do it. But that's very expensive. That's very expensive.
Yeah.
And so normally something like that, those big jobs you would farm out because you don't have the people and the manpower and the time to do a major project like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense. All right. So how does John keep getting better and better and better? What's your personal and professional development regimen like that helps you show up week after week, month after month, year after year, better and better?
I do. I'm big on getting with my peers, getting with the other, where I came from, the other superintendents, where we were all on a first name basis from all the local communities. I'm starting to do that here. Illinois was a lot tighter. We were all a lot tighter. Missouri, we're all kind of spread out. And it's I'm
geographically.
Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of meet these other peers and work with them. But over in Illinois, we had associations where we'd all go and meet and get hours to maintain our licenses, and we would all hang out together. Once again, we don't have that over here. And
no APWA.
No, we don't have
water, waste, nothing.
They do have some things. They do mostly have they do conferences. So I'm going to have to go to a conference over here now and try to meet some more of these people. But make peers. Also, and I had mentioned the ERTC at SIU. They have since had me come on the advisory board for the school.
Okay.
So now I go to the school pretty regular, and we talk about the courses and the health of the school, like the financial stability of the school and the enrollment and all that. We meet annually for that. And then we are going over once a year as Wentzville employees and doing a presentation to the class, like, hey, Wentzville's a pretty good place to come work. So we do that. So
that's cool. That's cool. Getting that younger generation in there. What would you say is the biggest misconception about your position? Let's say I asked somebody that knew you and I'm like, what does John do all day, every day for Wentzville? What value does he add to the community? What would they get wrong in answering that question?
I think your average resident doesn't have any idea what you do. They're just the only time someone looks up my phone number is when they're upset about something's not working right. No one has ever called and said, everything's great. Thanks for keeping the water on and the sewer going, But I think a misconception is that, you'll have you'll think we're ditch diggers or something, but there is some very educated people in this field. And that's the biggest takeaway I have with Wentzville is I've worked in other communities where the guy in charge of X is someone's brother-in-law. That's why he's there. Wentzville, I'm gonna tell you what. Every time I meet someone, they're here for a reason. They're good. I mean, I've met some very intelligent people, very professionals, and And in this field, you'll have some people who are very educated and they understand the processes, and
Sure.
they're really good at what they do.
Sure. What would you say, or I'll ask it this way: if you're, let's say you're commissioned to put up a billboard, and this billboard is in the most trafficked area of Wentzville, what ask of your community would you put on this billboard in regards to public works or wastewater?
Yeah, flushables are not flushable.
You guys always say that, man. Give me something else, man.
I cannot tell you how many pumps I have pulled.
Gosh, yeah.
Just completely plugged.
Yeah.
And you kind of know who it is, and the neighbors know who it is.
Really?
But it's hard to change that mindset.
Yeah.
But it causes a lot of problems. It's a very expensive. I mean, some of those wastewater pumps are $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 a piece.
Yep.
And to have them completely jammed and people backing up in their homes, it's tough. It's tough. So yes, that's what I would put on a billboard.
Okay. I rode with crews where I've been with guys, and they had to derag a pump, and like they pull out these big old balls full of flushable wipes, and I'm like, this stuff doesn't break down. They're like, yeah, well, we probably come out here every quarter and we'll find some rags in there, and it's like just clockwork. I'm like, dang, there's got to be a better way. I mean, so how do you kind of, not that you're going to knock on their doors, say stop flushing the wipes, but how do you kind of pinpoint and get that?
Well, we have put out flyers in the past on doors and asked, because usually it's like a smaller subdivision where you kind of know it's only 2 or 3 streets, right? It's a small lift station. There's only 2 or 3 streets on it, and the residents are going to say, well, it's probably them, because they maybe like have a person with that needs special things or whatever. But and like you try, but there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, understood. Let's say a city constituent wanted to thank you guys. What would be the most impactful pat on the back for your operators out there in the field right now?
The nicest thing anyone can do is just let them know. Let the city know that they appreciate you. Because like I said, that's very rare. It's very rare was for someone to take the time and compliment you, because everyone's living their life and everyone looks at the miracle. I mean, I call it the miracle of water. Like when you turn your tap on, clean water comes out.
I like that.
And when you flush your bathroom, it goes away. And it's a miracle, because if you think about when it doesn't work, what happens and how you feel about it. So to let staff know, to let the city know, and your elected officials know, because that's the other thing about in this field. We all work for elected officials who, very much how the public feels weighs on their mind. So to let them know that they appreciate you and what you do, that would be the best way to do it.
Gotcha. All right. I always like to leave a space on the show for you to thank mentors that you had along your journey. And then also we need you to give a word of inspiration and motivation to your wastewater collections superintendent counterparts.
Oh, okay. Well, in the past, I relied a lot on Ron Sanflavin from the village of Caseyville. He was a lot of help when I started out. And Bill Cavalinas with the city of Collinsville was a lot. Once again, someone I could call anytime. He would help me with different ideas. We recently had in Wentzville, like I said, they're interesting. They had their first employee development conference a few weeks ago. So like we will attend water conferences where you'll have like trade shows and stuff and training. They shut the whole city down for Columbus Day.
Okay.
They gave us Juneteenth, and they more or less didn't take away Columbus Day, but they made that a training day. So they shut the whole city services down. Wow. We had an employee conference, and they had different speakers, informational speakers, and it was geared to help all the employees with different aspects of it. So in that they used a promotional video, and they had me take a part in it. And something that I took away from was, just because a problem is new to you, it's probably not a new problem. So you can take that question you have to one of your mentors who's done this for a few years, and maybe they have another way of looking at a problem and help you solve it, and not so you don't struggle and beat your head against the wall trying to figure out how you're going to fix something when someone's probably already figured it out and you can rely on them.
Okay. Okay. And then what do you say to the other guys out there? They're in the trenches with you. You know, they're fighting the same battles you're fighting. What do you say to keep motivated, keep them inspired?
Well, we're all in this together. We rely on each other. We're all we got. And you take care of each other. You look after one another. And you know, I don't know what else you can do. You know, you're it. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right, John, let's say I'm coming to Wentzville and I text you ahead of time. I say, hey, John, where can I go to get the best burger in Wentzville? Where are you going to send me?
There's a little pub right up the street from the reclamation center called DeBeers, Debers, and they've got really good burgers.
All right, DeBeers it is. Love it. Well, John, thank you for hopping on the show. Thank you for sharing your wealth of information and knowledge with us. Any final words before we get out of here?
No, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad that we could do this.
For sure. All right, John. Once again, thanks for hopping on the show. To all the listeners out there, make sure you share this with somebody who you think needs to hear it. And this has been the Public Works Podcast, and thank you for tuning in.